TrendMicro is actually one of the largest security company in the world right now, dedicated to IT security. We've been around for about 25 years now, and actually this year, 2013, is our 25th anniversary. Right? So most people have known us as an antivirus company, but over the last 7-8 years, we've transitioned to look at data center security, cyber attacks, virtualization, and cloud security. We're about 1.3 billion in terms of revenue, annual revenue, and about 5,000-ish employees worldwide. A lot of the attacks nowadays is, malware, viruses are just a tool, right? There's different tactics to. You look at all the data breaches that has happened. Right? Very recently, Adobe got breached. 2.9 million or so user IDs got accessed. How does that happen, right? Don't you think, Adobe or the likes of RSA or the likes of Google have implemented some sort of firewall or IDS, IPS, or even antivirus, right? So it's a shift in the threat landscape. All right. So therefore, as a security company, we also have to evolve. It's sort of like, the criminals are always, evolving and changing the tactics, and the security vendors have to catch up with that as well. So it's not a set and forget thing in terms of security. How are these different? What the term is advanced persistent threats. All right. These target attacks, the criminals, they use advanced techniques to infiltrate an organization. All right. Once they penetrate your firewalls, your IDS, IPS, they're very stealthy. They try to have a persistent foothold into your organization. Okay, once in there, they're doing reconnaissance of your network. They're trying to infiltrate other hosts within your network. From there, they scout, where's your valuable data, and they do it in such a way, in a very stealthy manner, if you will. Now, most enterprises are new to this topic, target attacks, but for government, public sector, they know about this. Actually, the term APT, Advanced Persistent Threat, is actually coined referring to state-nation cyber attacks. Okay. Now, the cyber criminals that target the private sector have used that similar tactic and targeted the commercial space. Now, in terms of penetration, how they penetrate existing security defenses is through social networking. All right. They use a tactic called spear phishing. Okay. So what they do is spear phishing is really a very customized email that has been crafted by the cyber criminal to target a very specific individual. They research, for example, if I was targeting company XYZ, I'll go up to either Facebook or LinkedIn, internet, and look for people who works for company XYZ, right? So I come across David from HR, and David has just vacation in Bali, posted information about himself. I could easily craft an email that appeared to come from, say, one of the hotel that he stayed at while he was in Bali, and the goal is to get the victim to open up an attachment or click on a link that may be malicious, right? So that's the penetration. That's the spear phishing email bypasses all your firewall. The email ports open. bypasses your anti-spam, antivirus, anti-whatever, right? So that's the initial penetration. Once they're in there, the backdoor agent is installed, right, on the PC, on David's PC. Now that agent is very stealthy, and it may communicate to what we call a command and control server out on the internet, right? There's a lot of military terms in here, CNC server. So through the CNC server, these backdoor agent that is inside the victim's network receives additional instructions, receives additional payload to carry out its mission, right? So it's very planned and carried out mission, right? It's not so that's a big difference with targeted attacks, right? So they're, you know, the malwares are customized, so antivirus doesn't work, right? Most of the defenses that we've been building, what we call a perimeter defense, you know, the firewalls and IDS, IPS, and the gateway antiviruses, assumes that the data set, you know, assumes that you're building a wall or moat around the castle, right? Whatever is outside is bad, whatever inside is good, right? But I just explained to you that once they get in, right, through the spear phishing, they're doing stuff in your backyard and you don't even know it, right? And we've seen a lot of the study or investigation breaches finds that, you know, more than 60% of these security breaches are not discovered for months, right? The case in the South Korea attack back in March this year, where South Korea came under attack, after our analysis, the initial breach took place 9 months ago, right? So it's very, the landscape is very different, right? So TrendMicro's approach with regards to targeted attacks or advanced persistent threats is you have to assume you will be compromised, right? You have to first have that shift in your mental model, then you think about how do you change your security strategy. Employee still is the weakest link in terms of enterprise security. But also the IT staffs needs to be, the capability of the IT security staff needs to be leveled, right? Most of the organizations that we've talked to do not have an incident response plan in place, right? So when a security or data breach occurs, right, they're in panic mode, and very often many of the customers that we've come across who were breached, they didn't know what to do, right? They didn't know where to start to look, you know, to understand the extent, the scope of the breach. Not to mention need to bring in legal, to bring in PR, to bring in even HR, you know, the business owner into this conversation, right? In many cases of these security breaches, especially for the publicly listed companies, right, the stock price afterwards, it's impacted. If the organization doesn't have a forensic team or capability, they need to go out and secure one, right? The forensic teams, just like the TV show CSI, right? Those people are very specialized, you know, with very specialized skill sets. They're not the same as your normal law enforcement agents, right? So that's it. You know, that's the analogy I would give. You got to have that capability, either in-house or, you know, outsource it. You have to look at assume you will be breached, right? You got to have a plan in place.